The Atari Creep YouTube channel is intended for a mature audience. Regardless of the subject matter, this video may contain strong language, simulated violence, and psychological nudity. Viewer discretion is advised. What's up, Creepers and Geekers? Chris the Atari Creep. How is everyone doing today? So if you recall, if you're following both Arcade USA and Brian's Man Cave, just around the new year, right after the new year popped in, they did their top 10 Intellivision title videos. And I'm not a top 10 kind of guy. I do have a few on the channel, if you dig far enough. But I thought it'd be interesting for an Atari guy to talk about his top 10 favorite Intellivision games, but I never did get to it. And the whole reason they were doing it was for the Intellivisionaries podcast. I guess he wanted to compile everyone's top 10, put it into a pool, and then see what comes out of it. As far as a universal thing, you know, numbers and averages and all that crap. And I was speaking to one of those individuals last night on a live stream that Papa Pete did with Cyrus. And he said, yeah, you know, even though I cut it off at the 6th or whatever, it's still not too late, Creep, if you want to do one. So I figured I'm going to send him the list so he can just do whatever he's going to do with it and then upload this video probably a couple days after the fact. So here are my top 10 Intellivision titles. And I bet you, because I'm an Atari guy, they're going to differ from a lot of these. There'll probably be some that will be the same. But I think you'll be interested and surprised by what I come up with. Number 10. Dracula. Now, I always try to say in that weird accent, and then when I listen back to it, it sounds stupid as fuck. Dracula. One of the things I've learned about the Intellivision is, though they have a lot of the same games and game styles, there's a lot of games that have a different mechanic, a different gameplay style, and this is one of them. I mean, I was used to this. Okay. I don't know. It's a universal monster. I mean, come on, look at behind me. I got Wolfman here that I made, by the way. I got Dracula and Frankenstein, all kinds of Frankenstein's monster stuff right there. I got a Dracula VFD game. So if you throw a universal monster into a game, of course I'm going to be all over it like flies to a pile of caca. But it just turns out this is actually a very well-playing game, very gory for its time if you think about it. It really is. It's fun. It's one of the. It's different. I'll just say that. It's different. Number 9. Buzz Bombers. They say this is the answer to Centipede, Atari Centipede. I guess I can kind of see that where you're shooting at insects. But you're basically a can of bug spray trying to kill bees while feeding hummingbirds. It's again, it's weird, it's different, but it's your typical Space Invader style shooter. The music gets annoying after a while. The Flight of the Bumblebee plays during the whole thing, but it really is a fun game. And it's one of those games that could make you lose track of time real fast. And you could just put this into your Intellivision, and next thing you know, 2 or 3 hours have gone by, and you're late. You're late for your meeting, and you get fired. But it's worth it because Buzz Bombers is such a fun game. Number 8, might as well move on to Centipede. This was a surprise to me. Now, I've talked about it a number of times. These competing companies making games for each other, you know, M Network with Mattel onto the Atari, and Atari Soft onto the Intellivision, and so on and so on. Coleco and everyone just fucking whoring themselves out. When I saw Brian's Man Cave play this game, I was genuinely impressed, really impressed. So I instantly went to eBay and found myself a decent priced copy and brought it home, and I was not disappointed even a little bit. This is such a great port of Centipede. Yeah, it's just a fun game. Number 7, Commando. When I found out Commando was on the Intellivision, it blew my mind. Same with the Atari 2600. This is a tough as nails game. This game will frustrate you, but it's fun. It's still fun, and I think it's more in the awe that it even exists where it exists. I think I would almost prefer this to the NES version. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I love the NES version. I played that. I rented that game so many times for the NES, and I've only recently had this for maybe, I got an Atari.io junk box that just recently happened a few months ago, and It's a fantastic title. It shouldn't exist, but it does. It works well. I can't say anything more. Commando is such a great title. Number 6, you had to know this was going to be on the list somewhere. Masters of the Universe. Was it the Power of Heman? Yeah, the Power of Heman. I just call it the He-Man game, but Masters of the Universe. This is another game that could have gone really wrong. But it for the system, for the time period, it's everything you could want. I mean, you're He-Man running around trying to get through Skeletor, and then you get a sword fight with them. You get a great intro, a beautiful look at Castle Grayskull. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Atari version of this is still fun. It's basically the same gameplay. But this one, the intro music, everything. This is just such a great game. It's tough, but once you really get into it, another one that can really eat up all your time. Number 5 was a game I didn't expect much from, and if you go back and watch my first time playing this, I believe it was on an Instagram Live, I'm not too sure, you're going to have to look that up. Beauty and the Beast. I was genuinely shocked and surprised by this Donkey Kong style game. You're a dude trying to get to the top of a building, and it's done in layers, and it's done very well. You do the first couple of stories, and then you get up to the monkey, and the monkey gets up there with your friend or whatever. And then you keep going, and the building keeps getting smaller because it's getting taller and taller. And then hey, great job, or fantastic, and it encourages you to do better. It's not too easy. It's not too hard. Really interesting game mechanics, climbing up windows and getting your invincibility for like seconds. Really fun game. I was really shocked about this. It was a nice sleeper hit for me anyway. I mean, this could be on everyone's top 10 for all I know. But I absolutely love this game, and I could play this one any time of the day. All right, number 4. We're getting into the nitty-gritty here. Astro Smash. Now, I find this port easier than the Atari Astro Blast. And the Atari Astro Blast is one of the Creep's original collection games. It's one of the ones I had when the Atari was still on the market. I only had a handful, and I have a whole playlist going over all of that, if you care to look for it. But this is an amazing port. I used to play this quite a bit, too, at my friend Tammy's house, whose brothers had one in their bedroom. The only Intellivision experience I ever had growing up. But if you don't have this in your collection, don't even say you collect for the Intellivision. Number 3. Night Stalker. This is a fantastic game. I love the premise of it. I love the gameplay. There's only one thing I despise about this game. The controls. The Intellivision controller is not... I know if you grew up with it, it's not a big deal. It's kind of like also with Tron Daily Discs. You can't use the number pad and the disc at the same time. So you got to try to remember... If they had just mapped out the fire on the side buttons, this game would have been probably number 1 on my list. But because you got to fuck around with either 2 controllers or get a special controller or what have you, at least on emulation, I can map it out. I can map the 4 fire directions here, and it's pretty intuitive. But with the exception of the controls, this game is amazing. And it's number 3 on the list because I love playing it. But it probably would be number 1 if the controls weren't so fucky. But yeah, another game, if you don't have this one for the Intellivision, don't even say you collect. Number 2, probably the best port of this game ever. Burger Time. Again, another game I was genuinely shocked at how good it was. Now, I'm used to the shitty Atari port, and that's all there really is to that. But I did play a lot of the NES port, and of course I've played the arcade itself. When I got this in my hands and plugged it into my Intellivision and started playing, I was shocked as to how good it was, how well it played. The difficulty was just right there, perfect. This is a fantastic game. I have a couple of versions of this. I got a white box and this box, and I don't do too many variants, I love Burger Time. I could do this on Sunday Night Live every week if I really wanted to. And not get bored of it. Burger Time is such a fantastic game, but you gotta have your chops ready to go with this one. Before we get to my number 1, I do want to do a couple of honorable mentions. These probably should be on the list, but they're not going to be because my number 1 is legit my number 1. So I want to talk about Venture real quickly. I played this a lot in the Atari, and though this one graphically isn't too much different, it just seems to play a little bit better. Now, there is a difficulty problem with the disc for me, because I'm used to a joystick and a D-pad, not that disc. But aside from that, this one just seems to have a little bit more going on for it than what I was used to with the Atari 2600. Next, Pitfall. Pitfall is a fantastic game. It's hard to screw up Pitfall. The reason I'm putting this on an honorable list, though, and I've mentioned this a number of times, I actually associate this game more with the Intellivision than I do with the Atari, even though I know it's kind of the opposite. I first played this game on the Intellivision, so from there on, I always thought of this as an Intellivision title. I got ported over elsewhere. Call it what you will, but that's just the way the cards fell for me growing up. But this definitely had to be on the list. And I didn't grab the carpet Lock and Chase. I love Lock and Chase on the Atari, and I actually prefer that one. But Lock and Chase on the Intellivision, I'll grab the card so you have something to look at besides my pretty face. It just offers a little bit more. It's enough of a different game where I would almost say it could be like Lock and Chase 2. If I were to play the original on the Atari and then play this original one on the Intellivision, I can almost feel like it's more of a sequel because there's more going on. The strategy is completely different with this than it is on the Atari. Do I prefer this one to the Atari? No, I think I just said that. But really fantastic game. Well worth your time. Number one. I'm going to give you a second to try to guess. Nope, you're wrong. Beam Rider. This is a game I had in my collection before I even had the Intellivision in this house. I saw it in a game store that I was buying a few things and doing some trades. And I said, hey, how much more in the trade deal would I need to throw down to get this? Because he had it on his shelf. He's like, toss it in. You're good. And I had this on my shelf for the longest time. And then, of course, I got Dracula from Rick R. of the Atari.io forums. We did a trade. And I didn't have a system. But this sat on the shelf because Beam Rider is one of my favorite games on the Atari 2600. And I'll be perfectly honest with you. I haven't played the 8-bit computer version, but there's yet to been a bad port of this. The Coleco, Atari, and the Intellivision versions are fantastic. Fantastic. But this one has to be my favorite of all time. We talked about this last night, too, on the live stream. They were asking what's your favorite Intellivision games and all that stuff. Beam Rider is my favorite game on the system to date. I have a handful of games, and I'm sure there's going to be games that I don't have yet that may take its place. I doubt that very much. Beam Rider. One of the greatest games of all time. Love this game. Can't say enough good stuff. A little tougher to get, but not too rare. Get yourself a copy of this or emulate it. Do whatever you got to do to play it. Fantastic. And this is one of the ones where the Intellivision controller actually works out pretty well. So there you have it. My top 10 Intellivision games coming from an Atari guy. Were any of these surprises to you? What would be your top 10? Should you be making this list? Go ahead and put that down below. I'm curious as to what you think about my list, though. For real. So let me know about that down below. And I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a fantastic week. The weekend's almost here. Thank you for letting me join in on this top 10 list. I really do appreciate you giving me the leeway of being late, because I'm always a day late and a dollar shy. That's just the way it works around here. So I'm going to write this list down, which I already have it. I'm going to message him right now so he can do whatever he's got to do with it, and then we'll upload this video when I upload it, and I hope you enjoyed it. So go ahead and leave your feedback. Thumbs up, thumbs down, all feedback too. The creep is positive. Guys, thank you always so much for watching. I can't say that enough. I really do appreciate it. And until next time, take care. Creep it real. Play some Intellivision today. And bye-bye. No lives matter.